So we have been working on our mission, vision, and core values, and this week we'll be talking about inclusive. That is our second core value. Our first one is loving. And I just want to share a little bit about what inclusive has meant for me in my journey. And I had been called to ministry over 30 years ago. And some of you have heard this before, some of you haven't. But I was in a denomination where even if I did all the work, I couldn't be ordained. And so I set on this journey I was like, okay, well, maybe I never can be. And just chose to just minister as I am. And so fast forward to 2016 when my sister-in-law calls me and says, Leslie, there's this church in town that my acupuncturist and best friend goes to called Unity. I think you should go. I was like, okay, I'll try it out. So I go, and it was as if everything that I needed in place to be in place for me to realize this is where I was supposed to be. There was a picture, a painting, a beautiful painting of Jesus on like what would be this wall right here. Jesus was brown in this picture, like he should be, probably more than likely he was brown. And below it said Namaste. And I was like, oh. And the song that they sang was, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." I'm going to try to make it through this next part without crying. That was my Babo's favorite term for y'all. Babo means grandma. I was the one who named her, so she got Babo. So fast forward to today. Last week, I went through my interviews, and I have been recommended for ordination. And the scripture this morning in our daily word was what? This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And a friend of mine who I often get messages from and through her put in the comment section, your Meemaw, because most people call their grandmas Meemaws, Memos, and I was the weird one, but I did have a Memo. And she shared, she is watching over you in your ministry, and I so felt that. And then a little over a year ago when I came here to guest speak, and I walked through these doors, and there was this presence of home when I walked through these doors. And I didn't know some of the history of the building, so I wasn't resignated to that. It could be that it was a Poncho's back in the day, and I raised that flag a few too many times when I was little. But when I walked in the doors, I was like, inclusive. This is so present here. It is such a core part of our being that we are willing to do the work to imagine what we imagined in meditation. And so I got to thinking about inclusion. And I was like, you know what? When we come into life, all the people are included. When you take your first breath, everybody is here. And it's things that happen as we unprogram things that we used to think were normal that aren't in alignment with how Jesus would like things to be, how Christ would like things to be, and how God would like things to be. And so I came up with life, all people included. It's this perfect gift package that if we're willing to open it, we can experience so many things. Like having a day where you wear crazy socks because you're honoring your friends that you have spent time with who have Down syndrome. I love getting to wear crazy sock day. And it brings me to this scripture. And it's one of my favorites. You'll know why when I say it. I'm going to back up to the inclusive statement of our thing first. Got it out of order. So our definition, as we define inclusive, we welcome and value all people, recognizing divinity as our source of strength. Diversity. Good Lord. Y'all are going to see me doing this a lot because it's better without them than with them today. Thank you, oak trees. From Matthew 19, then people brought the children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. And Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. And do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." When he had placed his hands on them, he went on from there. And it's interesting because I don't know if he was like, I did what I came to do, I blessed the kids, and I can go about my day, and he left, or if he just continued whatever Sermon on the Mount kind of thing he was supposed to do. But when I think of children, I don't only think of people that are 18 and under. Every person is a child of God. We are all God's children. And so when you look at the context of that time, children were the low end of the hierarchy. They were the, oh yeah, they're there. We kind of need them because we need to keep making people. It wasn't the value that it has evolved to be today is different. And it didn't start to take place until kind of fairly recent in our history, because most of you guys will be familiar with the term, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Which meant that the baby got the bath last. The men got the bath first, the women got the bath next, the babies got the bath last. In frontier days, best way I could describe it. And so, what does that mean for us today? To be that all-inclusive, that we don't throw any child of God out with the bathwater, that we don't make it to where anybody has to be last for somebody else to have their needs met. Jesus' ministry was all about including everyone, specifically the marginalized. Specifically. And I think when you choose to include, that opens up a whole new world. Have you ever been around a child that is truly like 18 and under, and they say the most profound thing that you've ever heard in your entire life because they haven't been reprogrammed to think otherwise? They're like, oh. And it resets us to that inner knowing of, we know all of the spiritual depth that we need to know. More than likely, we are born with it, and then we get reminded of it later when we sometimes forget. We encourage and uplift others on our collective spiritual journey. This is one of our action items under this core value. What would it be like if we set aside all of our assumptions, our biases, and our fears? What would it be like? What would it be like if we leaned into our trust of the indwelling Christ that is in each of us, that we would want the highest and the best for everybody? What would that look like? On a grand scale, oppression will cease to exist. Oh, that would be such a grand day. But what do we have to do to move this from our little nucleus here within these walls to get to a point where we don't hold any human consciousness that weighs us down like unconscious biases? What do we have to do to get to that level that when an unconscious bias arises in our mindset, because we all have them, you go, oh, that does not resonate with loving kindness. It doesn't resonate with the all goodness of the Christ that dwells within us. And then when we recognize it, then we have to do the work of, how do I make the amends to change? And it's not so much, a lot of people, and I too, like I would feel guilty when an unconscious bias would arise because I'm like, where did that come from? That's not how I like to be. And then I go, thank you for that awareness, and I will do better. My sister and I have this little ongoing joke when we're frustrated with whatever life thing is, and we're like, do better, do better. And it's for us to do better. We encourage and we lift others up on our collective spiritual journey. We do the work, we look within ourselves, and we take action. We become willing to be uncomfortable. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable, but if you're willing to be uncomfortable, you will experience more moments of comfort the more you're willing to be uncomfortable in order to grow. It's much easier to lift somebody up and to encourage them when you're not dragging behind you all of this person scares me because of blah, blah, blah. This person makes me nervous because of blah, blah, blah. Theying and theming and the othering that we do. If we're carrying that around with us, you may get to where you want to be, but you're going to get there slower. So the more baggage we can unpack, the more things that we can go, this is not working for my highest good, and we let it go. And we have to do that not only individually, but collectively as a people. When I was digging through the wonderful abyss of Unity websites and Truth Unity, I came across some Unity history in the denomination where I was like, this is so awesome because it's inclusive. And if it wasn't for a female, who at the time it wasn't popular for women to go charging through and leading something and creating a denomination, that it would be different. But there were times along the way when a black person wanted to start their own church or their own school. And the reply was, that's great, do it, with no support. And so when we recognize that part of our history, then you go, I don't like that, the way that was. It doesn't resonate with my Christ consciousness within, and we do better. We have moments where last year when I went to convention, it was Juneteenth, happened to be in the middle of that week, and we had the most awesome celebratory service that week. It was amazing. And things like that shouldn't have to be on a specific day, in a specific month. It should be every single day God chooses to wake us up. We should celebrate the uniqueness and then lift each other's up on our journeys. We co-create a community of belonging with opportunities to learn from one another. I love this community because we are a safe place to have conversation, to be curious, to want to stretch and to expand beyond what we know. And if you're really paying attention to the conversations that happen around the tables in the gathering room, you will learn that the world is bigger than our little nucleus here and onward. It allows us the opportunity to become aware of our privilege. At some point in time, some people experience some kind of privilege, some more than others. But when you become aware, and we have our need for acceptance, our desire to have someone, anyone, that is brave enough to stand up for you on your behalf because they have a platform of privilege to be able to do so. I know that in my experience, I wasn't willing to sit and wait for a denomination to change their mind to where a lesbian can be ordained? Would it be different if more people spoke out sooner? I'm kind of glad it worked out the way it did because I'm here. But if we say we're welcoming and we don't do the work to allow oppression to cease, then it's a door that's partly open and not flung open wide like I like to see the church doors flung open wide. And I also encourage us to, while we have that ability to have those intimate conversations, sometimes people take the easy way out and they'll just ask. But I can tell you from my asking, I can tell you from my being part of a marginalized community, y'all, we get tired. And I'm speaking from a point to where, yes, I have privilege and yes, I have marginalization within me. But it's hard to explain so much that you're having to, sometimes it feels like you have to justify your existence at times. And so we are in an age where we can get data like that. In fact, if you're curious about anything, go to Genesis, part of Google, type in your questions. They will most likely answer you, and I've found that most likely the answers are pretty correct. So do your research. If you want to know what is it like to be whatever you're curious about, do your research. Get curious, though. That is the biggest part, is to get curious. And from that, we take action to create an environment where everyone thrives. Because I don't want it to be a place where you're like, oh yeah, y'all come. Glad you're here. We can check off the inclusive box. Good. No, that's not what it's supposed to be like. We want to include everybody, and we want everybody to thrive. I mean, to be able to live their best life, whatever that looks like. To be able to get the spiritual tools and need that they have, that they need, and get them provided, and to have the comfort and love and support of community. So why do I bring this up when I felt that inclusive energy when I stepped foot in? And it's because our work doesn't stop. Our work is ongoing. Our work includes, I have a member of our church that's probably going to have a difficult time getting up from here to here because they're having to choose to move differently. And so I'm going, in my head before I even got here, I'm like, okay, the stage looks like this. How far do we need the angle? What will it look like to get a ramp, or do we need a podium down there for that day? What does that look like? What does that inclusion look like so that when I talk to somebody whose mobility has changed, they don't have to go, I might not be able to do sacred service anymore because I can't get up to the podium. Not here. That's not going to be a stumbling block. No. So this is where I want to invite you. If there's something that is a stumbling block, something that's different, he's fine. That's different. He's fine. That let the children come to me. I'm a YFM person, and make it to where everybody's included. Everybody feels comfortable. It's one of the reasons we have a blanket in the back. If you get cold, because I sweat like nobody's business up here, but you can't really fully listen to a message or enjoy the songs if you're trying so hard to keep warm. And so when I look at this, I am reminded that we have to do the work. And the song that Trevor's going to sing shortly is Rainbow by Casey Musgraves. And it has a part in there where the rainbow is always above you. Put down your umbrella, the rain has stopped, look up. We have to do the work so that when someone is in the storm, that we can help them know that there is a rainbow over their head and that we can do the work to clear the clouds out of the way. Because the light that's in us, or if you want to metaphorically use the sun, it's never not there. Even when nighttime comes, it's never not there. But when we're in our darkest time, when it seems like there's clouds and rain and rain and rain, I would love to have some rain and rain and rain here in Central Texas so we can get more bluebonnets. But I would love to be that vessel that lets someone know that they are loved and worthy just as they are. To create a world where if something is that we do is not including, that we go, what do you need? And we work to help make it happen. And so I invite you to say this together with me. This will be our affirmation for the day, which is our definition of inclusive. We welcome and value all people, recognizing diversity as our source of strength. We welcome and value all people, recognizing diversity as our source of strength. We welcome and value all people, recognizing diversity as our source of strength. Saying that 3 times gets that into our body being, and it helps us memorize it easier too, because as you can see, I'm not the best at memorizing, which is why I have notes.